على سيدنا محمد النبي الأمي وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما. So as you know, Allah Azza wa Jal, after He spoke about the creation and about the believers and unbelievers, and spoke about Adam alayhi salam, and then spoke about a nation who supposed to carry the message of Allah Azza wa Jal and failed in many ways, He came back to talk about the founder of, or the one who called the Muslims. Allah Azza wa Jal said, "Huwa millat abikum Ibrahim, huwa sawwakum al-Muslimin min qabl." So He chose the word Muslimin min qabl, and Allah Azza wa Jal made him Imam. We went through that last week, to how Allah Azza wa Jal tested him. A test which probably none of us will pass. So to be Imam to all mankind, you need to pass these tests. And in a way, Prophet Muhammad ﷺ was tested even harder than that. He lost all his children but one. He did actually bury them. While Sayyidina Ibrahim, Allah Azza wa Jal saved Ismail and replaced him by a sheep. And then He said, "Ja'alnaka imaman linnas." He made him as an imam, a leader to the Muslims. And then Ibrahim thought that's going to be like inherited to his children. He said no. It will be, put it on a paper. In the room. Muftah on the shelf. On this shelf. إذ يرفع إبراهيم القواعد من البيت وإسماعيل. So before that, as قال إبراهيم ربي, before that, here ابتلى إبراهيم ربه, and then He made him Imam. He said, "And from my family," He said, "No, the unjust and wrongdoer will not get my promise." And then Allah Azza wa Jal showed him where the bases of the Kaaba was, the house of Allah Azza wa Jal, and both Ibrahim and Ismail purified the place and built the Kaaba. And he made the dua to give the people of Kaaba sustenance. And he said, "Only give those who believe." So Allah Azza wa Jal said, "No." Ibrahim wanted only man amana minhum. And Allah Azza wa Jal said, "No, waman kafar." So the gift in this life for both, for the kafirin and the Muslimin, you will get to Jannah, they won't. But they both are given their sustenance as Allah promised. And then Allah told us how they raised the Kaaba. And He asked them to make there's no tissue. In a store in the other room, there is a box, and there's like there's 200 in one bulk. So He made the dua to make him submit to Allah Azza wa Jal and his ummah, and show them how to worship Allah Azza wa Jal, and ask Allah to send from among them, a messenger for them to teach them the book and the wisdom, to teach them the signs of Allah Azza wa Jal, and to purify them. And we shared last week how Allah Azza wa Jal switched that to purify them first. So first make them believe in Allah, yatlu alayhim ayatihi, purify them, then teach them the book and the wisdom. And the book could be the Quran, and the wisdom could be the Sunnah as well. And then today we're going to talk about this ayah. And Allah Azza wa Jal is stressing here that no one will leave the religion or the millah of Ibrahim, but he is the one who he fooled himself, or he can make himself fool. Like if you talk to people, say, "Wouldn't you agree with me that truthfulness is better?" I say, "No." "Would you believe with me that people shouldn't steal each other?" "No." So we're talking to idiots, fool. If you really want to save yourself, you need to not attack others, because people will attack you as you attack them. So to keep yourself safe, you just oh, Jazakallah khair. You need a smaller one. That's instructions now. Here you are. You don't come here to get education only. You get very nice tea. You get biscuit, and you get this Scottish biscuit, isn't it? It's really nice. So Allah Azza wa Jal,
better than Taiwan. You got some already?
He said, who would leave the message of Ibrahim except the one who make fool of himself? And Allah Azza wa Jal said, we have selected him in this dunya. So Allah didn't select him randomly. Like in Surah Al-Imran, Allah Azza wa Jal said, إِنَّ اللَّهَ اصْطَفَى آدَمَ وَنُوحًا وَآلَ إِبْرَاهِيمَ وَآلَ عِمْرَانَ عَلَى الْعَالَمِينَ. Not blindly. If you look into Prophet Muhammad's life, all his life from birth till he died, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he was perfect. He was just perfect in every way you look at him. So it's no wonder why he should be selected as a messenger of Allah Azza wa Jal. And the attitude of having the leader as being the son of the king, that's out of Islam. You know, in Islam is out of discussion even. You don't look at it. Or the one who is the richer, or the one who is the one who take it by force, you know, and kill and things. And so Allah has chosen Ibrahim, but He told us before that He tested him, and heavy tests, thrown in the fire, and his wife was, you know, he had to about to lose his wife in Egypt, and he left his son and his wife in Mecca, no food, no drink, no people, no shelters, nothing to protect them from the sun. Then he was asked to go and slaughter his own son. And there's a lot of other smaller tests, you know, and traveling. I mean, to travel, leave kicked out of your house in Iraq and go to Palestine is not a short journey. I mean, it took me with my wife 24 hours to travel from Damascus to Riyadh with the car. So what about walking or a camel or things? And وَإِنَّهُ فِي الْآخِرَةِ لَمِنَ الصَّالِحِينَ. Confirmation from Allah Azza wa Jal that he's going to be one of the righteous people in the hereafter. Because Allah Azza wa Jal said one of the things He tested him is قَالَ لَهُ رَبُّهُ أَسْلِمْ قَالَ أَسْلَمْتُ لِرَبِّ الْعَالَمِينَ. We just straight away, Aslim, submit to Allah. I submitted to Allah Azza wa Jal. Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam made a comment. He said, nobody, I invited them to Islam, but they were a hiccup. Oh, let me think about it. What about this? What about that? Accept Abu Bakr. He said to him, accept Islam. He said, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, Ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah, straight away. Even Ali ibn Abi Talib said, I'll ask my father. He said, no, don't ask your father. You have to make the decision. Also, he's 10 years old. So when we come here, they say, oh, 10 years old, they can't make decision. Oh, they actually can. And he followed that, and he asked his children, وَوَصَّى بِهَا إِبْرَاهِيمَ بَنِيهِ وَيَعْقُوبَ. So both Ibrahim and Yaqub. In this country, they have this rhetoric that, oh, you don't have to force your children to follow a religion. In Islam, say, yes, you have. Why? Because I want them not to steal, not to kill, not to commit adultery, not to cheat, not to lie, not to commit any fraud, not to betray people, not to disrespect your parents, not to break the law, not to do a million of things. I'm not asking them to do foolish things. Obviously, those who don't know religion, they think, oh, you're twisting their mind, you washing their brain and things. I wish, I'm quite glad that my teacher washed my brain. There are a lot of dirt there, and I had a good wash. And alhamdulillah, I mean, the washing, just before I came here, I mean, my wife was talking, remember the day when we were to take all 2 bags, 2 flasks and the tea and coffee and milk and everything, and the projector and the laptop and on top of that, we had to rearrange all the room in St. Peter's, take all the tables out to the back, put them on top of each other, and put the chairs to get enough people there. And then when we went to pray, you had to go to the canteen and remove the chairs there. Were you there? In St. Peter's?
Yeah.
All right, mashallah.
I caught the end of it.
Yeah. But the chairs, not the chairs, they are settees. Wow, they're very heavy and difficult to move. And then we have, after the study circle, we have to everything back. So subhanallah, I mean, that's a gift from Allah Azza wa Jal. So it's not, something, you just, and then Allah Azza wa Jal rewarded us this place, come projected there. And the laptop here, actually, but I bring that because I've already programmed it and things. And there's a projector here as well. And we have, alhamdulillah, everything is ready. And that's a payment from Allah Azza wa Jal. So yes, he did actually invite his sons, Banihi, who was Ismail and Ishaq, and grandson Yaqub. And Yaqub did the same. ويعقوب is وصى بها إبراهيم بنيه ويعقوب يا بني يا بني in plural. So he spoke to his children plural, Ismail wa Ishaq, and he spoke to his children, the 12 of them. يا بني إن الله اصطفى لكم الدين. Allah has a chosen religion to you. فلا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. So make sure you don't die, but you are on the message of Islam, in a state of submission to Allah. How would you guarantee that you don't know when you're going to die? People might die suddenly. So how is that? How is that don't die?
This is a common sentence and repeated by all prophets in the Quran. All prophets first saying this. Even what was the name? Not prophet. Not wise man in Quran.
Luqman.
No, Luqman Hakim, same thing.
Yeah, but my question is, how would you guarantee to say, I am a Muslim, ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah, before you die? You could die suddenly. You could die by a shot, or lose consciousness and never regain it, to say ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. Do you get what have you got the question?
So in the way you live, is it? And the way you behave, and the way you think.
And yeah, the way you live, the way you behave. What's the important one in the way you live? What do you do? Pray. You pray 5 times a day. So you must have prayed Zuhr or Asr or Maghrib in between. Even we said last week, not to you, I think in the school, even if you are in a bed, you can't move anything, you pray with your eyes. So you always commit one of the prayers and you say, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, Ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. So that, even if you say it from the beginning of your life and you stay on it, but you have to repeat it, obviously, because you're going to pray. But there's people who became Muslims and died straight away. They didn't pray any prayers. They straight away went to defend the Medina and they died. So if you carry on praying, you definitely will die in a status of submitting to Allah Azza wa Jal. So this is why we say to people, never miss a prayer deliberately. Never ignore a prayer deliberately, because you renew your status of being Muslim. So فَلَا تَمُوتُنَّ إِلَّا وَأَنْتُمْ مُسْلِمُونَ, in submission to Allah. And the most important submission is the prayer, to submit to Allah. So actually, physically submit to Allah. Go down to the floor in sujood, hand yourself to Allah Azza wa Jal. And أَمْ كُنْتُمْ شُهَدَاءَ إِذْ حَضَرَ يَعْقُوبَ الْمَوْتِ, and he's telling us what he actually said to his children. Have you witnessed? Were you to witness, or were you there? Like, saying, were you there when Yaqub was dying and he said to his children, who you will worship after me? ما تعبدون من بعدي قالوا نعبد إلهك وإله آبائك إبراهيم وإسماعيل وإسحاق. Now, نعبد, you always have to explain to your children and your family, to your invite to Islam. Na'budu is obeying Allah Azza wa Jal in doing the halal and leaving the haram. So you are worshipping Allah Azza wa Jal, not like rituals, have no meaning. Na'budu, if you tell the truth, you are worshipping Allah. If you acquire knowledge, you're worshipping Allah. If you go to earn the halal living, you're worshipping Allah Azza wa Jal. Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. If you are, if you get married, legally, lawfully, Islamically, you're worshipping Allah. If you look after your children, worshipping Allah. So worshipping Allah in all these things. So it's not only you do the first daily prayers. Unfortunately, a lot of Muslims don't get the purification of the soul and the heart and And by the time they are 15, 16, even if they were dragged to the mosque and taught Quran 5 times a week, you still see them difficult to. And I heard many stories now from my grandchildren, from my grandson, the awful image, a lot of Asian Muslims coming to Arden School and give horrible, and vice versa. The other side also poor, a lot of, and they were not born even when the September 11 happened, terrorism. They still hear it from their families, and they, like I mentioned last week, they come to a canteen and switch off the light and shout Allahu Akbar to frighten everybody. And the other side do it as well. So it's not, they are not actually better. And there's a lot of, awful jargon they exchange and things. قالوا نعبد إلهك وإله آبائك إبراهيم وإسماعيل وإسحاق. So this is a political sentence to tell us what Allah is trying to tell us here. Because they are the son of Yaqub, the sons of Yaqub, and their grandfather is Ishaq, and great-grandfather is Ibrahim. But he puts here Ismail, Abaika, Ibrahim, wa Ismaila, wa Ishaq. So what Allah is telling us here?
In order to say who is older than the younger. If someone says Israel, we are the children of Abraham, say no, because before Ishaq there is Ismail. Before Ismail was Abraham alayhi salam. You cannot say we are Jew because you're saying you go back to Abraham alayhi salam wasn't Jew nor Christian.
So Ibrahim wasn't Jew or Christian.
Yeah.
He was the father of
Muslim,
the Arab and the Jew.
And it's priority showing that Ismail is older than Ishaq, which is higher than. So if you're claiming that Ishaq has a more believing first than.
Because when Ibrahim went from Iraq to Palestine, what Allah said to him? Go to Ard Canaan, Bilad Canaan, the land of Canaan, which is Palestine. It will be for you and your children after you. To you and your children. This is why the Jewish, and this now the Zionists, actually Jewish, not all of them take that, claim that this is the promised land. God promised us the land. So I wrote on Facebook at the beginning of the Ukraine that Putin went to Ukraine because he claimed it was Russian before 1990. And everybody objected that. The Zionists went to Israel because they said they were promised it 5,000 years ago, and everybody agreed with them. So what mentality are we dealing with now? And I had quite few like from non-Muslims, they texted, that's correct and things. So when he went there, they took that phrase and they came back after 5,000 years to claim Palestine. So Allah Azza wa Jal here saying no. The children of Ibrahim are Ismail and Ishaq and Yaqub. So why he inserted Ismail here? To say to the Zionists that no, he is one of the children. So if Palestine is to the children of Ibrahim, the Arab included. So don't come and talk about all this rubbish now.
Yeah, so when this was revealed, was it also maybe, I don't know, was it addressing the Jews in Medina or, I don't know.
No, it's about addressing the Zionists in 1917.
No, I mean, when it was
Yes.
Yeah. Message to now, yeah.
The Jewish at that time, they were not claiming Palestine. They didn't go there.
No.
There were some Jewish there, but they didn't go and make it a land. The Crusader came, but the Jewish didn't. The Zionists who formed a political movement in America, supported by evangelical Christian. Evangelical Christian have a belief. Do you know what was it?
Something with the final day, day of judgment. I think if Israel is claimed by Jews, then something like that. I'm not too sure.
Antichrist-
Yes, something like that. Anybody?
Antichrist, they believe Antichrist.
Not Antichrist.
No.
That Isa alayhi salam will come down to earth, will come back to earth once the state of Israel is established. Where they've got that from, I don't know. But they believe the greater Israel, because this is the greater Israel actually from Nile to Euphrates. Haduduki ya Israel. It's written on their parliament. Haduduki, the border of Israel from Euphrates to Nile. This is why the 6 Days War happened in 1967, because they want to achieve that. And they were supported at that time. In a way, President Sadat was clever in sabotaging that plan, and he managed to get Sinai back. So he pushed them back to the border of the old Palestine. But Allah Azza wa Jalla is saying here that by definition, your uncle is your father. By definition. And the Arab knows if you come to a door and you knock on the door and a child comes, and he will say, "Is your father here?" He will ask you, "Which one?" You say, "Your father Ahmad," and his father is Ahmad. If you're coming to talk to his father in particular, he will say, "Your father Ahmad here." But if you say your father here, it might mean all his uncles. And in Islam, if the father dies, then the uncle takes charge. He becomes the guardian of the family. So that's by definition this. When we are told that Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, there's a hadith, I kept being moving from the back of the pure fathers to the womb of pure mothers until I got born. So from Adam until Ibrahim, until Ismail, until he was born from Abdullah, all were chaste parents. No one of them pagan or kafir or anything. So when it comes to وَإِذْ قَالَ إِبْرَاهِيمُ لِأَبِيهِ, وَإِذْ قَالَ إِبْرَاهِيمُ لِأَبِيهِ is not his own father. And وَإِذْ قَالَ إِبْرَاهِيمُ لِأَبِيهِ آزَرَ. So Azar, when Allah Azza wa Jalla talk in the Quran about Abihi, is actually his uncle. And that's proved in this ayah as well. So he is his father. I call them Abuka Azar. If he said Abihi and stop, could be his father. But he said Abihi Azar, so his uncle Azar. So Azar is not his father, his uncle Azar, who was worshipping the idols and the fire and things. And
Who was idol maker, yeah?
yes, fire worshipper. So that's the sentence here, helping both ways. First, confirming that your uncle is called your father, because Abaika na'budu ilahaka wa ilaha abaika Ibrahim wa Ismail wa Ishaq, and he inserted Ismail, and he's not their father. He was their uncle. إلها واحدا ونحن له مسلمون, one God, and we submit to him. And then Allah Azza wa Jalla said, تلك أمة قد خلت لها ما كسبت ولكم ما كسبتم. Because the argument, they keep arguing about it. You have nothing to do with it. It's just people believe, finished, gone. They want to go back. No. They especially when they change the history, they change the books, they change the documents. And so Allah Azza wa Jalla made sure that the Quran will never be changed, and the facts will stay there, to the bitterness of all those who are anti-Islam. They tried so many times to change the Quran, or change some of the wording, or change some of the sentences. Now we know through many sources that Shia have a Quran, they call it Quran Fatima, but they've never been brave enough to actually bring it to the public to see. In secret, if you are deep in the Shiism, they will get you to see it. And but people actually saw the Quran Fatima, and they tell you, yes, there is Quran Fatima. So تلك أمة قد خلت, they've gone passed away, finished. They have what they earned, and you will have what you earn. And you are not going to be asked about what they were doing. So The teaching, my teacher used to say, knowledge which will not benefit you if you learn it, or will not harm you if you don't learn it, you don't need it. Why you? It's like I think Abada was asked by Ahmed Naimne, you know Ahmed Naimne? No, he's a Lebanese, one of our friends. He said to him, "What are you going to study when you finish?" He studied engineering and he didn't like it and wasn't getting a lot of money or something. And Abada said, "I want to study the poets in Chinese poet between 1914 and 19 no 14 14 40." He said to him, "Why?" Abada was joking, but he was so angry. Were you there when he said it?
I'm a baker.
Did you hear it? Yeah. That was Chinese poetry, Chinese.
I have a colleague who worked with me in LEK who did Chinese studies in Cambridge.
Yeah, I might go and walk there or something. But he, why are you doing this? So, knowledge, and but Allah documented in the Quran the important information you need to know about Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam, his children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren, and the promise of Allah Azza wa Jal to who. And then it will come later, إن أولى الناس بإبراهيم الذين اتبعوه وهذا النبي والذين آمنوا معه. They deserve to be the followers of Ibrahim, because this what was Ibrahim. He gave him his characters and things. صلى الله على سيدنا محمد النبي الأمي وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم والحمد لله رب العالمين. I was very brave to come. The snow was outside. Subhanallah, Allah melted the snow, so you don't have an excuse not to come to study. Okay.